Okay, what up, ladies and gents? It's your favorite Asian robot right here. No longer one of the creators for this game because I usually play other stuff, but I'm still here to do builds for you guys. And what we've been experimenting with lately in Oryx is the Plasma Gun Veteran build. A lot of people have been asking me to redo the old Plasma Gun Veteran build, and I have configured it for the current environment. We have tested this in Auric Damnation, Auric Maelstrom. It performs beautifully in both. Now, of course, it's not going to guarantee you a win because if you've got 3 teammates that can't handle it, you're still going to suffer a lot. Or if you've got a bad combination going, you're still going to suffer a lot. But in most situations, assuming that everybody does their job, this build is fantastic and it works really well. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to give you guys a summary of the build. So unlike last time where I only gave a summary of the talents, I'll give you actually a summary of the full build, especially the Curios, because a lot of people did mention that as well. I'll give you a full summary of the build, and then I'll go into the details separately so you guys can watch the summary if you guys don't want to watch the full thing. But I do encourage you guys to check out the details. Don't be like those trolls that just don't bother actually working into the details section, because I do give variations options in there if there are any. Okay, so let's get started. Let's talk about all this. How do you build the perfect Plasma Gun Veteran that works well at the highest levels of gameplay? Okay, let's get started. First, let's go into the summary. The summary should start with the talents, all right? We take the middle side, all right? Then, of course, we go down to the left-hand side for Survivalist, as always. We go down the middle again for Voice of Command. We take advantage mostly of the middle tree, but it's got a bit of a different setup. And we also take advantage of the left and right-hand side tree. Why? Because you are going to make use of the dueling sword, all right? So this is what the talents look like. For the loadout, you want to have a dueling sword with stats that are similar to this, perks that are similar to this, and the blessings, pretty much these are the best choices. Precognition can be changed out. For the plasma gun, this is what I found to be the best and most ideal. You can actually change the perks. I've been experimenting with a lot of perks, but the blessings are a must-have. You cannot change the blessings. Okay, I want to be very clear on that. You cannot change the blessings, but the perks, I left them that way because I really like to deal with specials fast. So this is why I chose those particular perks, but you can alter it based on your needs if you want to, okay? So this is what my plasma gun looks like. My Curios, I went with toughness, health, and toughness. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any 17% toughness Curios. I did get very lucky with a 21% max health one. And for my perks, I mostly have 2 damage resistance gunners. Combat ability regeneration is across the board. 2 with stamina regen, 2 with plus toughness. Why? Because a veteran lives and dies by toughness. And that is a summary of this entire build. Okay, so if you guys are not interested in hearing the details, here's the summary. Go off, have fun. But I highly encourage you to not only listen to the details, but if you want to see the gameplay, now you'll notice this video does not have any gameplay. You can actually check out the stream where I played this build for a full stream, 3 hours, everything other than the first round. The first round was an Auric Damnation, but everything else was Auric Maelstroms. You can see the ups and downs of the builds, where it succeeds, where it fails, you know, what happens, what goes on. You can check all of that out here in this stream. Okay, so you can go check out that stream if you really want to see the gameplay. Now, let's get into the actual details of this build. Much like last time, it's going to have a lot of explanations, so stay tuned for that. We're going to go section by section, weapon by weapon. We're going to explain everything, and then off you go. Again, gameplay is not offered in this one, but for those that want it, you know where to find it. Okay, link is in the video description, actually. I put it in there so you can find it easily. Okay, now, let's talk about the talents. When it comes to this particular build, and I'm going to remove my cam for this so I can give you a better picture. When it comes to this build, I pretty much have a standard choice. I always go by the middle. You can actually choose any of the other sides if you want to, but again, that is up to your purposes and what you want to do. I prefer the middle because close order drill, if you're not around your teammates, you are not properly playing the veteran, because the veteran is designed as that heavy gunner of the team. Sure, you could have a Gunlugger Ogren, but you are the heavy gunner of the team. You are the heavy weapon spec. Use it well. All right? So close order drill is what I use. I like to have that toughness damage reduction. Confirm kill, as always, because especially in the later stages, there are a lot of elites. And here's the fun fact. Even if you were to kill an elite with a melee weapon, all right, like so, you still get the confirm kill. See that? You're still getting the confirm kill buff down the bottom. So it doesn't matter whether you shoot them or stab them, confirm kill always works. That's what is awesome about this. This is compared to Exhilarating Takedown, which is the competitive node for this. Exhilarating takedown sounds good on paper, but here's the problem. You need a range weak spot kill. It will not trigger if you were to use a melee attack, whereas confirm kill does. So confirm kill to me is the better choice. Stamina boost, of course, here, +1 stamina, very useful. Then you get toughness boost, and then you're off to the next section of the tree. Okay. For those of you that prefer crack grenades, once again, the build will cost you an extra point. Some people prefer crack grenades. I do not. Once again, shredder frag grenades are my choice. Why? They are just very useful for bleeding AoE targets rather than focusing on a single heavy target. And in my particular case, I do not struggle with single heavy targets. This build is actually designed as a heavy killer. All right, you actually suffer so badly on horde clear with this that if your teammates don't do their job, you might actually suffer quite a bit. That is the weakness of the dueling sword, which is one of the weapons used in the build, and I'll explain that later. You can still deal with hordes fairly well, but more inefficiently as compared to a specialized weapon. However, the biggest problem is the crushers and maulers. When 6 of them are on you, that dueling sword and that plasma gun are going to save your life, whereas anything else will not work. So I figured that since you're already such a good heavy killer, you may as well specialize in it rather than having a half and half with this build. I found that this build was not really a tactical kind of thing. So shredder grenades are my choice, so I can help deal with the AoE a little bit. And later on, we've got talents that'll make sure not only are you generating grenades, you can use them quite freely. And I was using them pretty freely during the matches. Okay, range damage boost, natural. Once again, get back in the fight. There is no reason not to have this. You must have this. Survivalist. Now, one thing I will say is that some people prefer catch a breath. If you really like that, that's fine. But I tell you, when it comes to Oryx, you're always going to have enemies within 8 meters because they're swarming you so frequently. And then this talent is useless, whereas this talent always works. Okay? So, well, always works when it's off cooldown. Survivalist, natural choice. This helps you use your ammo a bit more actively, and it also replenishes your team, therefore allowing your zealots, ogrins, whatnot, to consume less ammo while still being effective at range, and everybody's not fighting over the smallest ammo drop. All right. So I find Survivalist to be very useful for the team. It's a lot of utility, and sure, it's got a cooldown of 5 seconds, but again, there are so many specials and elites that you are going to be killing one every 5 seconds, roughly forever, so get used to it. Okay, reload boost, then you come down the middle, toughness damage reduction, demolition stockpile is natural. If you like field improvisation, you can take it. It's pretty useful, but you're probably going to have to sacrifice something from the lower tree instead. All right. But I just go with demolition stockpile, voice of command, duty and honor. Voice of command, super useful. 9 meter AoE stagger. It staggers bosses, demon hosts, whatever you want. This is ultra useful. Demon host on your team? No problem. We've had a couple of Auric Maelstrom specifically, where the demon host was attacking us. It was a very, very pleasant thing having voice of command, because all I have to do is shout, the demon host backs up. We get extra toughness to withstand the assault. You shoot, shoot, shoot. You're pretty much good to go. It's beautiful. There's no reason not to have this. Duty and honor, the extra toughness allows you to survive sniper shots, bursters, a whole bunch of stuff. Plus, you know, the fact that it exceeds your maximum toughness also helps a lot of your allies, and it also helps you because, of course, later down the line, you're going to have Iron Will. All of this factors into you being able to wade through enemy fire with ease, which we pretty much do as the veteran. Being able to tank a little bit is very good for your team. Okay? Now, when you come down to this, you're going to need to take advantage of all 3 bottom trees. Okay? I'll go down the middle first. For the Emperor is my natural choice. Extra damage is always welcome, especially when there's a boss. You shout, stun the boss, you shoot 4 plasma rounds into their head, which will basically give them full shattering impact. Then you start stabbing them. It's beautiful. It only lasts 5 seconds, but this is more than enough time. Yeah. If you find that your team is struggling to survive without you replenishing their shields, well, toughness, you can go for Born Leader. This is actually excellent considering the fact that everything in their grandmother triggers confirm kill. Melee kills, range kills, doesn't matter. You kill an elite or specialist, you're regenerating toughness, and all of that is regenerated around you. So Born Leader is really useful if your team has problems surviving, and if you find yourself in the kind of team setup where, hey, maybe I should be helping everyone survive instead of giving them more damage. Like maybe your team is so offensive that you want to do this instead, go for it. Keep their heads down. I've never really used it, never really thought about using it, don't really think it's useful. Up to you. If you like it, go for it. Okay, either way, you want to get tactical awareness because having your combat ability cooldown reduced by 6% on a specialist enemy kill, and guess what? You are the one shooting the sniper, so you're always getting specialist enemy kills, is beautiful. All right, imagine shouting a boss, killing a couple of specialists, and oh, you shouts back. You can shout the boss again. It's beautiful. I love this. Iron Will and Demolition Team. Okay, so I've never liked Demolition Team in the past, but a lot of people were talking about it. What I will say is that, look, some people were saying some stuff like, oh, if you've got Demolition Team, bro, you have unlimited grenades. That is not the case. I found myself running out of grenades pretty frequently. It is only a 5% chance to replenish a grenade when you or an ally in coherency kills an elite or specialist enemy. Now, you will be killing a lot of specialists, and your allies will be killing a lot of specialists, so 5% chance does trigger fairly often, but just don't expect to have unlimited grenades because that is not going to be the case. You still have to be semi-tactical with your grenades, but what I will say is that the main difference that I notice is that I almost always have 3 full grenades for any situation. This allows me to use my grenades very liberally. I would say I got about double the amount of grenade uses that I would have gotten during any match. In fact, it was slightly over double, and this was worth the point to me. So I experimented with it. I really like it. And although it's not going to be super nice horde clear for you, it can be pretty useful. So don't hesitate to use this. You see the massive bulwarks coming in with ragers and all that. 2-3 grenades out, you know, and you're having a great time. In fact, let me just show you. 2-3 grenades will destroy a lot. All right, here's a quick demonstration. I usually just throw multiple grenades just like that, and all of a sudden, everything within the radius bleeds to death. You see how that works? Yeah. Now, unfortunately, none of them actually restored my grenade charges, but you get the picture. You guys get the picture. So, having that ability to just toss 3 grenades and not worry about it, and after you shoot or stab for a while, you get it back, it feels beautiful. And although it is a 5% chance, and as improbable as it might be, you could theoretically just roll 5% each time and then get 3 grenades right back and start tossing them again. It can happen. So that's where Demolition's team comes in. Iron Will needs no explanation. Having the extra reduced toughness damage when you're above 75 toughness is beautiful. It can really help you stop the opening salvos of some gunners, deflect a lot of gunners, things like that. It's really good. Toughness boost. This is natural, so you can progress on. Bring it down is really good, and here you do not take rending strikes because your plasma gun doesn't really need it. It's already really effective against armor, and your dueling sword doesn't need it either because your dueling sword, if properly statted, is also really effective against armor. So you don't need rending strikes. So rending strikes, I actually reinvested the point on the right-hand side tree. Okay, for the keystone node, I still really love focus target. 20% extra damage is not to be sniffed at, and it really helps when you're dealing with multiple monstrous specialists. This, plus shattering impact, plus everything else, means that monster is going to take mondo damage. You go in, you stab him, you kill him. You might see the short where we fought like 4 bosses in a really short span of time. I think it was all under a minute, and we were just like killing them left and right. Sure, they were weakened, but it was pretty darn awesome. So I love focus target for that. Yeah. Target down and redirect fire are, of course, natural extensions of this. The extra 7.5% damage doesn't sound like a lot, but when you think about multipliers and the fact that this build focuses on a lot of multipliers, especially crits, you will end up dishing out quite a bit more. Target down is also really useful because mark the target, kill it. You know, your allies are replenishing toughness, stamina. So useful in the thick of combat. All right. You want to help your team. And again, this is one of the reasons why I don't take Born Leader, because we already have this. If I wasn't using this, I might take Born Leader instead, but that's neither here nor there. I think I prefer this because of the stamina regen. Okay, now, for left and right side tree, I will start with the right side tree because it's quite crucial. For the right side tree, having your melee damage boost, reciprocity, and desperado is pretty important. Why? Because all of this helps your dueling sword. Okay, when you are up close and personal with the dueling sword, you will be critting like crazy because you'll be able to dodge attacks like crazy. The ability to stack 5 times means 25% critical hit chance, 10% extra melee critical hit chance. And I can't remember, was there any more? No, there wasn't any more. Okay, So already from this alone, 25 and 10, that's a 35% extra melee critical hit chance, which is beautiful, all right? And the additional melee finesse bonus is also beautiful. So overall, this just helps you dish out a lot more than you normally would. The 25% melee finesse bonus is what I really want, though, because that allows your weak spot hits to deal even more damage, all right? Now, on the left-hand side, you've got your range damage, precision strikes. Now, precision strikes is a unique one because it also affects your melee weapon. Okay, so when it comes to precision strikes, here's something that you guys might want to take into account. First of all, I'm going to show you with no precision strikes. Okay, so I've just removed these 3 talents here. With no precision strikes and maxed out thrust, I deal about 2,348. Okay, now let's include precision strikes. So we're going to include that. Just going to back up a little bit. Okay, now maxed out. Okay, that was a one shot, so we couldn't really see that. Let's do it again. Yeah, there we go. 2,713. So you can see that it is more than if you were to remove precision strikes. Okay, so once again, remove precision strikes. Let's back up a little bit. Yeah. You can see that without precision strikes, you do less. So precision strikes is pretty important, and it affects your melee weapon as well. So, fully loaded gives you more ammo to play around with, and superiority complex helps you deal more damage to elite enemies, so there's no reason not to have this in your build. All right, and that about sums it up for the talents in your build. Now, you've heard the talents, and you've heard my explanation for said talents. Let's move on to the actual weapons in the build, then the curios, okay? First, I'm going to cover the melee weapon, then the ranged weapon, then the curios. Let's get started, shall we? Okay, for your dueling sword, this is the Mark IV. Why do I like the Mark IV? The heavy is a strike down, although this one is a stab, and the light attacks are all the same chain, all assassin type attacks. This attack pattern results in something that looks like this. Okay, it's a very simple pattern of striking left and right, but it's fairly easy to hit weak spots with this. So even with hordes, you can sort of butcher your way through them, kind of like that. All right, and it's a very simple pattern, so it works really well, and you'll be able to chop them up like a blender. All right, for your strike downs, they are very simple standard stab attacks. All you gotta do is take full advantage of thrust, and you will one-shot those things, okay? So when it comes to specials, just go for the head roughly, and you're good to go. Okay, especially muties. For muties at least, yeah, if you get a nice weak spot hit, you'll just kill him in one shot, so... You have to hit the head, but yep, you can do that too. So overall, this thing is pretty useful when it comes to murdering your opponents. So this is why, This is why I like the Mark IV. You can choose to use the other models if you want, but this is what I choose. Now, here's what you need to know about it. Stat-wise, damage at 80, okay? Penetration, 80, please, because this will help you against flak and carapace armored targets. You want to be able to deal as much damage as possible to them. Finesse, anything above 75 is good. In fact, penetration, same thing. Anything above 75 is good. But finesse and penetration, you just want to have them as high as possible. You're not going to see much difference with like 2% of change. So this will affect your light attack, critical, and weak spot power. You actually get a multiplier of 2.4, which is what makes this this sword so amazing. All right. And of course, you want to have a higher attack speed. Cleave damage is not so important. Okay, anything above 60 is good, so I usually use this as my dump stat. Why is that the case? Because you're only going to get an extra 2-3% damage with higher cleave damage, and so I find it's not very worth it, especially against flak armored targets. And most of the unarmored and infested target, you still get practically 100% cleave damage, so yeah, it's not really worth it for a little bit extra cleaving damage. Mobility 80, because why not? This affects your sprint speed, dodge distance, dodge limit. You don't actually need 80. Anything above 70 is good, but having 80 is good. So you may as well have it. I mean, there's no reason not to have it. You still want your mobility high because it affects your dodge distance and sprint speed. Okay, dodge distance is especially good with this because the additional dodge distance that you get allows you to very freely move in combat, which I really, really do like. Okay. For perks, damage to carapace and unyielding enemies is pretty good. Why? This will help you kill the Reapers and the Crushers a lot faster, along with the Maulers with head stabs. Okay, so carapace armor and unyielding, this is why I choose them. Unyielding is also for bosses. Attack the head, you'll do very well. You don't need help with the maniacs. You don't need help with the flak armor. You don't need help with anything else. The dueling sword can kill everything. So you can choose your perks pretty freely, and these two are the best that I personally feel. Okay, for your blessings, precognition and thrust. Thrust is very useful. Okay, if you were to use an attack with barely any thrust. Okay, here we go. 1,382. With full thrust, I did about 2,211. Okay, so I'll show that again. Full thrust. Okay, no thrust, about 1,300. I think you can see the difference is pretty stark. So thrust is really, really good. And although it may seem like it's a pain, oops, going back to the talent page, although it may seem like it's a bit of a pain to charge up your attack in the field, you actually, if you stay calm in heavy combat, you actually have more than enough time to charge up in a lot of situations, therefore allowing you to guarantee a one-shot on most enemies, all right? As for precognition, it's just really good against bosses, especially against the demon host. Dodge their attack, 60% finesse damage, go for the head, go for the head, go for the head. You know, or if you, after you do a successful dodge, you shout, you can go for the head, go for the head, go for the head, and dish out a lot of extra finesse damage, because finesse damage is talking about multipliers. Increasing your multiplier is beautiful, all right? Okay, so that about covers the dueling sword and why we choose all the different stuff in it. Let's talk about the plasma gun. The plasma gun is fantabulous, okay? I love this weapon a lot. For the perks, you can actually do whatever you want. Why did I choose Maniac and Unarmored? Because a lot of the specialists are Maniacs and Unarmored, and of course the Dread Gunners are also unarmored. So using these two perks helped me kill a lot more than I felt I was able to. Some people choose to go unyielding instead. You can, I would say, just choose in accordance with what you can and cannot kill. All right. I just love the plasma gun being like that because, like I said, a lot of these guys are unarmored, and sometimes a glancing shot, you just want it to kill. All right. But sometimes it doesn't. So it feels a little glonky when it doesn't. And therefore I chose those perks. But realistically, you have freedom of choice. So you don't have to go with what I chose. If you find that unyielding is better for you, go for unyielding. You know, you got no problem killing. Go for unyielding. Go for carapace. Go for whatever you want. The world's your oyster on this one. The other alternative is elite and specialist to cover everything, but then that doesn't cover bosses. So most people usually choose unyielding if they want this to cover bosses. I don't disagree with the choice of unyielding. Okay, for my blessings, I went with Gets Hot. Increasing the critical chance really helps out because you also increase the critical range attacks damage. And this I found to be pretty darn fantastic for me, at least. Okay, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and with reciprocity, I find that I can crit fairly often, so it seems to work well in my personal opinion. Now, Shattering Impact gives you 4 stacks of 2.5% brittleness on a direct projectile hit. This means that you stack, now 4 times 2.5 is 10, right? So 10% brittleness, 10% brittleness, 10% brittleness, 10% brittleness. You can have a maximum of 16 stacks. So that is effectively 10% times 4, 40% brittleness. That is reducing the effectiveness of the enemy's armor. This is absolutely excellent when you're dealing with bosses. Just helps you kill them faster and helps your whole team kill them faster because it is brittleness. Rending only affects you. Brittleness is a debuff to the enemy, which therefore means your whole team is dogpiling them for even more damage. I love Shattering Impact, so this is what I use. If you find that you're not getting a lot of value out of it, you can choose Blaze Away, you can choose a lot of other stuff. The choice is yours. Okay, there's no right and wrong answer. Stat-wise, okay, I went for damage. Of course, you want to have this as high as possible. Thermal resistance as high as possible just helps you shoot for longer, but anything above 70 is good. Ammo, anything above 75 is good. Charge rate, anything above 65 is good. And stopping power, now stopping power affects your multipliers. You need this as high as possible, so I go only for 80, but realistically speaking, anything above 75 is good. So this will affect the multipliers for your damage versus flak in near far, carapace near far, unyielding near far, maniacs near far, but mostly it affects your carapace at far ranges because carapace actually has quite some damage reduction at far range. At near range, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to melt them. All right, so just be aware of this. That's what stopping power does. And therefore, you need to have both damage and stopping power for most guns as high as possible. In this particular case, this is what I use. All right, it gives me a fairly large magazine size, a good ammo reserve. I absolutely love it. You can squeeze out a little bit more if you get 80 ammo, but it's not necessary. Genuinely not necessary. Okay. All right, that about settles it. That's it for the plasma gun. That's it for the dueling sword. Now, the last thing on my list to talk about is the Curios. I didn't talk about this last time, and people say, why didn't you talk about it, even though I posted a note about it? Okay, so let's talk about the Curios right now. Toughness, health, toughness. This I find is the best combination. I do not need wounds. I do not need stamina, but it's up to you if you really want those. You can sacrifice one of the toughness ones for it. For perks, I went with combat ability regeneration across the board. 12% combat ability regeneration is effectively, because this has a base cooldown of 30 seconds, that's effectively slightly over 3 seconds of cooldown, right? Doesn't sound like a lot, but in combat, 3 seconds is a long time, considering the fact that you've also got tactical awareness. That helps you use voice of command very frequently and very liberally, which allows you to survive a lot of stuff while buffing your whole team. So there's no reason not to have combat ability regeneration. Toughness, I find that having the extra 10% toughness from having the perk on 2 of the Curios works really well. For damage resistance against gunners, 2 is enough. You don't really need more than that. It just helps the gunners stop spraying you down. If you don't like them or you find that you can survive without them, go for whatever you want. There is no right or wrong answer. I like to also have 2 stamina regeneration perks. Why? Because you're going to use a lot of stamina. And it makes no sense that you shouldn't regenerate it fast. So having the 2 extra stamina regeneration perks, I have personally found, helps me a lot in combat. But if that doesn't help you, then by all means take something else. Like you want to get reductions against bombers or something, then or bursters, absolutely go ahead. Or if you're picking up Grims, you want resistance against corruption, go for it. You can do that. World's your oyster. But this is what I use, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this build is helpful to you. Once again, if you guys would like to check out the gameplay of this, all right? I know the gameplay is not included in here. If you would like to check out the gameplay, here it is. You can go watch the stream. We have 3 hours worth of gameplay for you, all right? So you can check that out, see how we do things, have fun with that, okay? And last but not least, I have to thank all of the people that make these videos possible. Thank you so much to my channel members. Okay, unfortunately, like I said, I'm going to get a proper list done next week. This week, I can't seem to pull the member list for some weird reason, but here are our top stream supporters. CG Mayhem, all right, is our top tipper. We've got Lawbreaker as our top super chatter. George Tishon, D. Russ as well, top super chatters. Top channel membership gifter is Arcane Silver. And for the month of December, if you want your name on this list, all you got to do is support the stream. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't do anything weird while I'm gone. Have fun with Veteran.